Good morning, children. Welcome back to English class. I hope you have read the first part of the story, All Summer in a Day. Let me ask a question. Describe the condition on Venus when it rains. Describe the condition on Venus when it rains. I hope you can remember that is the first part of the story. Okay, so when it rains on Venus, it appears like heavy storm, and the scene is quite similar to that of tidal waves coming over the islands. Moreover, the ceaseless and heavy rain on Venus results not only in the crushing over of thousands of forests, but also in the growth of thousands of forests. Okay, that's there in the first part of the story. Now, okay, we have completed up to page number 112. First paragraph we have completed. Okay, now look onto the screen if you don't have the textbook. Okay, ready, children? She glanced at her watch. Yes, said everyone. So, what are the children ready for? What are the children ready for? Yes, the children are ready to witness or ready to see the sun coming out of the clouds after 7 years of continuous rain. They're all eagerly waiting to see the sun. Yes, said everyone. Are we all here? Yes. So the teacher asked, are all the children here? The rain slacked still more. Now the rain is reduced or decreased. They crowded to the huge door. Now all the children are eager to go out and see the sun. So they just crowded near the huge door. The rain stopped. It was as if in the midst of a film concerning an avalanche, a tornado, a hurricane, a volcanic eruption, something had first gone wrong with the sound apparatus, thus muffling and finally cutting off all noise, all of the blast and repercussions and thunders, and then, second, ripped the film from the projector and inserted in its place a beautiful tropical slide which did not move or tremor. Okay, see, the children are ready to see the sun, and now the rain is reduced, the rain slacked still more, and all of them, they are crowded near the door, and finally the rain stopped. It was now the narrator tells us how it looked like in the Venus when the rain stopped. How was it? Okay, it was as if in the midst of a film. So you just imagine it was as if in the midst of a film that concerning the film concerning of an avalanche. You know, avalanche means um, a snow mountain, a part of a snow mountain falling down. Okay, concerning an avalanche or a tornado. Okay, so a tornado is also a violent destructive storm, and that means powerful winds. Okay, so tornado or a hurricane So hurricane, that is also a violent storm. A volcanic eruption, something had first gone wrong with the sound apparatus. So in that film you can hear the sound of the avalanche, tornado, hurricane, volcanic eruption, and then something had and first gone wrong with the sound apparatus, as if something gone with the sound apparatus, no more sounds. That means thus muffling and finally cutting off all noise. So all on a sudden, all these noises came to a standstill. Okay, no more sound, no more noise, as if something had happened to the sound apparatus. Otherwise, if you are watching a film concerning all this avalanche, tornado, hurricane, you may hear all kinds of violent noises. But if something happens to the sound apparatus, you will hear nothing. That's what happened here also. All of the blast and repercussion, that means the strong effect and thunders, and then second rip, and then what happened, second rip the film from the projector. What happens, the film is ripped from the projector and inserted in its place a beautiful tropical slide. So this was the situation in Venus now, and that film had ripped from the projector and in its place inserted a tropical slide, slide shows. Okay, and a slide is inserted. That means there is no movements, there is no sound. Okay, only you can see the clear picture. The tropical slide which did not move or tremor, no sound, no movements, no shakes, nothing. The world ground to a standstill. So the Venus came to a standstill. The silence was so immense and unbelievable that you felt your ears had been stuffed or you had lost your hearing altogether. So this is how the children might have felt. There was so or the silence was so immense and they could not even believe. That means they have they have never in their life witnessed such a silence. So it was unbelievable, and they felt that their ears had been stuffed. They could not hear anything, as if they had lost the hearing altogether. Nothing is heard. That means a complete silence. The children put their hands to their ears. They stood apart. So this is the first time they come across such a silence. Okay, all through their lives they hear this, the violent storm, tornado, hurricane, and raining always. Okay, now they stood apart. The door slid back, and the smell of the silent waiting world came into them. The sun came out. It was the color of flaming bronze, okay, as if the bronze flaming, the bronze, the color of the bronze, like golden color. Okay, so as if the bronze flaming, and it was very large. So the sun was very large, like a golden or a big piece of bronze, flaming or burning. And the sky around it was a blazing blue tile color. The sky looked beautiful, a blue tile color. And the jungle burned with sunlight. as the children, released from their spell, rushed out, yelling into the springtime. So now, when the rain stopped, how did the children react? Okay, and how the jungle looked like in Venus. The jungle, as if the jungle was burning with sunlight, and the children, as if they were released from their magic spell. They just rushed out, yelling into the springtime. Now, don't go too far, called the teacher after them. You have only 2 hours, you know. You wouldn't want to get caught out. So if they go far, sometimes they won't be able to come back. Before that, it may rain and they will be, or they will get stuck in the rain. But they were running and turning their faces up to the sky and feeling the sun on their cheeks like a warm iron. So this is the first time they are feeling the warmth of the sun. This is the first time they see sun. This is the first time that they saw the sun and they felt its warmth. They were taking off their jackets and letting the sun burn their arms. So this was the first experience. Oh, it's better than the sun lamps, isn't it? So one of the children remarked, it's better than the sun lamps, isn't it? Much, much better. So one remarked, oh, it's better than that. They stopped running and stood in the great jungle that covered Venus, that grew and never stopped growing tumultuously, even as you watched it. So uh, they stopped running and they stood in the great jungle that covered Venus. And that means it was always growing, it was never stopping, always growing and tumultuously, you know, uh, that means loud and confused and grown in disorder, even as you watched. Okay, and it was a nest of, okay, next part. It was a nest of octopi, clustering up great arms of flesh like weed. Okay, so it was like a nest of octopi. You know, octopi means the plural of octopus. Have you? I think you might have at least seen the picture of octopus. It has got a lot of like arms, like, okay. So uh, it was like a nest of octopi clustering up great arms of flesh like weed, wavering, flowering in this brief spring. The spring is only for a brief time, and wavering and flowering. It was the color of rubber and ash, this jungle from the many years. So before the sun came out, okay, it was the color of rubber and ash, pale color, pale. It was the color of stones and white cheeses and ink, and it was the color of the moon. The children lay out, laughing, on the jungle mattress and heard it sigh and squeak under them, resilient and alive. So the children, they were so happy. They just they just started running and laughing and, okay, on the jungle mattress, and heard it sigh, the sound coming from the jungle, and squeak under the resilient and alive. That means coming back to the normal condition. Okay, and they ran among the trees. They ran among the trees They slipped and fell, they pushed each other, they played hide and seek and tag, but most of all, they squinted at the sun until the tears ran down their faces. So, most of all, what they did was they just looked at the sun. That means they could not see when the sun shines brightly. You cannot look at the sun with your open eyes. You must sometimes you have to close your eyes little, then only you can look at the sun. So they just squinted, they half closed their eyes, and that's what it is said. They squinted at the sun until the tears ran down their faces. They put their hands up to that aloneness and that amazing blueness. So the yellowness, that is the bright glowing sun, and the amazing blueness. The sky looked blue, no more black clouds. Okay, it looked beautiful, and they breathed of the fresh air and listened to the silence which suspended them in a blessed sea of no sound and no motion. So they had a different experience now. They experienced a blessed sea of no sound and no motion. They looked at everything and savored everything. They looked at everything and they just tasted everything. That means, yes, this is a very new experience they had for the first time. So they just tasted each moment, relished it. Okay, then wildly, like animals, escaped from their caves. Nice comparison. Okay, the writer says that they were just like wild animals, okay, locked or kept in their caves, and they just escaped out of the caves. They ran in shouting circles. They ran for an hour and did not stop running. And then, in the midst of their running, one of the girls wailed. Wailed means just she cried loudly and said something. Okay, so see, this paragraph tells us what were the activities the children were engaged in when the sun came out. Okay, so you have to read carefully this. Okay, they just ran among the trees, they slipped and fell, they pushed each other, they played hide and seek and tag, and most of all they squinted at the sun. Okay, so the sun looked beautiful and the sky in its blue color was so amazing. And now at this time, one of the girls, she just cried, wailed. Everyone stopped, so they all stopped playing. The girl, standing in the open, held out her hand. So she held out her hand. Oh, look, look, she said, trembling. So she was trembling, her hands were trembling, and she showed them her hand and said, look. They came slowly to look at her opened palm. And what did they see? In the center of it, that means in the center of her palm, cupped and huge, was a single raindrop. So, what was in the palm? A huge raindrop. She began to cry looking at it. What does it mean? It's going to rain, yes. Very soon it will rain. They glanced quietly at the sun. Oh, oh. So they became sad. Very soon it is going to rain. A few cold drops fell on their noses and their cheeks and their mouths. The sun faded behind a stare of mist. A wind blew cold around them. So now they know that that's the beginning of rain. Very soon it will rain. They turned and started to walk back toward the underground house, their hands at their sides, their smiles vanishing away. Now their smiles vanished from their faces. They became very sad. A boom of thunder startled them, and like leaves before a new hurricane, they tumbled upon each other and ran. Now it is going to rain. So they know the signs, okay? So there was thunder, and the it was like a new hurricane, and so they stumbled upon each other and they ran. Lightning struck 10 miles away. So first it was 10 miles away, and then it was again very near to them, 5 miles away, a mile, a half mile. That means it came very near to them. The sky darkened into midnight in a flash. They stood in the doorway of the underground for a moment. So they just stood at the doorway. Now they have to go inside the tunnel. Is it? Yes. Until it was raining hard. Then they closed the door and heard the gigantic sound. Gigantic means huge sound of the rain falling in tons and avalanches everywhere and forever. Will it be 7 more years? Somebody asked, will it be 7 more years? That means, should we wait for another 7 years to see the sun? Yes, 7 years. That means again it's going to rain for 7 years continuously. Yes, 7. Then one of them gave a little cry. Margot. What? She's still in the closet where we locked her. Margot. They stood as if someone had driven them, like so many stakes. Okay, so they just stood as if someone had driven them, or like so many stakes. Okay, stakes means like wooden or metal post, okay, that is pushed to the ground. They just looked or stood there as so many stakes in the floor. They looked at each other and then looked away. They glanced out at the world that was raining now, and raining steadily. They could not meet each other's glances. So the children felt remorseful, is it? So whatever Margot had told was correct. So that's why they could not meet each other's glances. Their faces were solemn, serious, and pale. They looked at their hands and feet, their faces down. Margot, one of the girls said, well, no one moved. Go on, whispered the girl. They walked slowly down the hall in the sound of cold rain. They turned through the doorway to the room in the sound of the storm and thunder, lightning on their faces, blue and terrible. They walked over to the closet door slowly and stood by it. Behind the closet door was only silence. They could not even hear any muffled cry. They could only, or it was only silence. They unlocked the door even more slowly and let Margot out. There is a film based on this story, All Summer in a Day. Okay, children, I'll show you some of the scenes, okay, and you can see how the children, uh, okay, how they acted when the sun came out, okay, how happy they were. So they are coming out of their underground classroom. Okay. See the change in Venus when the sun came out from the clouds. And what are the activities that the children engaged in when the sun came out?
be a joke. Michael, tell her. Go ahead, tell her. Michael, it was a joke. Where is she? You saw the sun.
So now the children realized that what Margot had told was right. Okay, they felt guilty and remorseful. That's the end of this story. You can see William crying. So since children felt guilty, see, all of them are coming and presenting flowers to her. Okay, I made a mistake. It was not she. It was not William who was crying. It was Margot who was crying. Okay, children, you have to read the textbook thoroughly. It's a wonderful story. Okay. The teachers will give you notes. Okay, be thorough with the textbook. Okay, we'll see in the next class.